Hey guys, it's Charles Austin here with Liquid Blue Cabarete in Cabarete, Dominican Republic. And today we got a wing behind me because we're gonna do a little bit of tips and tricks video. So some people wonder, how the heck do I ride a small board like this? And this is a 33-liter board. If you've gotten into winging, if you've done any research, you realize that you generally start off on a wing board of around 110, 120, 130, maybe even up to 150 liters. And now you're wondering, how do I ride something that's 1/3 the size or even 1/4 the size? But it's not impossible with proper technique. So we made a video around a year ago, and you see the water rising here. So we made a video around a year ago that shows a complete way of learning how to wing foil, which sort of summarizes all the steps you're gonna go through when you're learning. And one thing that I mentioned in the video is your position on the board when you're learning, of how do you set yourself up, right? So if you look at the internet, you're gonna see there's a couple different ways of how you could get onto your board. I made a video about the 3 most common ways that we could always link somewhere in the comment section below so that you could refer to it. But once you start going down to sinker boards, there's really only one of 2 ways you can get going. And one of the ways, which is the most common, this is the one I use, is that you're on your knees, right? So when you're on your knees on the board, you're small and compact, and you can sort of manage yourself on the board. Now, if I was doing other techniques where I'm off the side, or if I'm sitting on the board, it's gonna be almost impossible. So imagining, I'm gonna flip this board around. So imagining that I'm on the board, I'm gonna be on my knees. And when I'm on my knees, essentially what I'm doing is that I'm acting a bit like a tripod, where I'm gonna have my left knee and my right knee, and then my feet somewhere centered up here. As you can probably tell, well, I got my waist leash right here. I don't know if you can zoom in on that. It's a little bit beaten up around the edges of the tail pad, and the reason is because my toes sort of dig into this. So from being on your knees, obviously this is a sinker board, so the board's gonna sink under the water. And now the question is, how do I actually sort of keep my balance when I'm on the board? And this is where some of the tips and tricks come into. If you're using any other technique than being on your knees on the sides, then you're gonna have a hard time with balance. If it's ultra windy today, a day like this, that's around 20, 25 knots, I could probably get away with standing on the board. I don't use straps, but I could put straps and do a standing start, sort of like windsurfing. But also you could do it strapless, a little bit more technical, but it's possible. But for most people, we're gonna be on our knees, and what we're gonna do is that if I'm on the board and the wind is going downwind of me, I'm going to apply pressure onto my wing to sort of keep some balance. So already I should be able to keep balance with the wing up in the air, because I will have to get to this position to get going. But I will use, when I'm just there sort of chilling in the water trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, I will be applying a little bit of pressure on my wing, because that's gonna give me some balance. So then, once you figure out how to position yourself on the board, what you're gonna wanna make sure is that when your board is sunken under the water, you're gonna wanna make sure that it's up in a bit of an angle. So I'm gonna put this down here. You're gonna wanna make sure that your nose is a little bit out of the water. So since this is a pretty small board, the water might be only up to here, and then the rest is gonna be underwater, including my body. But we're gonna include some footage here of how you're gonna see how it looks essentially from the shore when someone's on a sinker board and then going to getting out. So imagining I'm on the knees, I'm just gonna go here so I have a little bit of space. I'm gonna get onto my board. I'm gonna be holding my leash in my hand so that I can grab the board properly. And you see I'm in a very small position because I don't have much room. It's a super small board. So then from here, what I'm gonna do is try to get to my wing, and then now I'm holding the wing, holding the board. And then now I'm making sure that I have a proper runway. And from here, I'm gonna have to bring my wing over me, right? So from bringing my wing over me, now there's a couple things. Sorry about that. So now there's a couple things here. If I just hold this wing in this position, now my feet are doing all the balancing. And if you don't have proper balance, you're gonna fall off to one side or fall off to the other. So you really wanna try to stay nice and small and control the board instead of letting it sort of float around and control you or be uncontrollable. So from here, if you need that extra help and balance, you can put the wing into the water, and that can give you some balance in case you're not ready to get going. And usually this is a technique that's used in strong winds and light winds because there's moments where you're gonna need that support because you're not ready to get standing or whatever it might be. So in any case, imagining we're on the board, we get our wing above us. Whether I can start off from here or whether I need to go back down, what I don't want to do is that I don't want to really overextend my body because then I'm going to lose balance. I want to stay nice and small. And I'm going to have my back to you guys because this is how the wind is going to be blowing. So from here, I'm going to have my board, it's going to be in a line, and I'm going to have to eventually start pumping. And this is where you really want to make sure you engage your feet onto the board. That's why you see here I have my foot really digged in because I'm really trying to hold on to the board while I'm going to start moving. Leaning a little bit back, pumping up the wing, and then once I get that nose out of the water, I bring my front foot up and I just pop off. Since we don't have that much room, we need to do that sort of style, and that's why even when we're learning, what we try to make sure is that you do a one-step getting up way. You don't want to have to bring your foot 3 times and then readjust a bunch of times because it's not gonna be efficient, especially once you start getting the smaller boards. And now, yeah, we're talking about a 33 liter board, but this applies to 60 liters, this applies to 90 liters. And in reality, it should be applied from the beginning of when you're learning. So you're gonna go from here, you're gonna pull up, you're gonna get your wing powered, you're gonna have to pump, really bring in that power. And then from here, you bring 1 foot forward and then you pop off. And then you obviously will have to keep pumping. We're gonna have some B-roll footage of how that looks, but it is definitely a more active experience. and on top of that, it's a better experience if you especially enjoy riding swells or doing freestyles. It's gonna be almost mandatory for you to start cutting down on your board size. And even riding a 60 liter for some people is challenging, or 75 liters, but having the proper technique is gonna make it a lot easier for you to get going. So in any case, guys, if you have any sort of questions about how to pump your board or how to pump your wing, we do have some separate videos about that. But remember, it's all about technique in this sport more than muscling it, especially once you start getting towards the smaller equipment. So with that being said, it's Charles Austin here with Liquid Blue Cabarete in Cabarete, Dominican Republic. And I'll leave you with a view of Cabarete.